Good evening, sir, and welcome to Talk of the Nation.
Good evening, fellow Namibians.
Secondly, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Joseph Siseho, also the Deputy Director of Legal Affairs at the same Ministry of Health and Social Services. Good evening, sir, and welcome to Talk of the Nation.
Good evening, fellow Namibians.
And finally, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Cornelius Weyulu, the Registrar of the Health Professional Council of Namibia. Good evening, sir, and welcome to Talk of the Nation.
Good evening, Namibia.
Honourable Minister, in my introduction, I said that we currently, as we sit here, operating under legislation of 1919. Why have we been operating on this legislation for such a long time?
Well, thank you very much indeed. Just to first to say, we are operating, administering the Public Health Act number 36. Act number 36 of 1919. It's legally, that is in terms of the Namibian Constitution. Since independence, 24 years now, my senior colleagues, when I took over the ministry, that is now 9 years, and even then, I served as the deputy minister for 5 years. That is, we are talking of 14 years.
Yes.
I want to inform the nation that since then, we have been working on the draft, but it is such a technical piece of legislation which calls for, amongst others, consultation with expertise on the ground. And that in itself took us this long. Even when I had introduced it to cabinet, and we're now talking of 3 years, it was approved by cabinet, referred it to the Cabinet Committee on Legislation. There I want to say it took anything around a year.
Yes.
After that, it was then referred to the drafters. The drafters, they too worked around a year. That is, you are now talking of more than 2 years.
Yes.
And yet, it is only now, this year, that we received it. And since then, it is at table. And yet, when we get through it, some of us who had been working on it, you ask yourself, but why? What are the issues? It is about the technicalities that we are in reference to. Some of the issues which we will, during the course of this discussion,
Yes.
explain why.
Very good. I think that's a good explanation. I'd like to bring you in, sir. You are responsible, really, in essence, for legal services in this specific ministry. The minister highlighted it's a very technical piece of legislation. Could you highlight some of the issues for us, and also how and when the need to revise came about? Obviously, it's almost 100 years later, 1919, 2014. In this case, 5 years short of 100 years. How and when did this need, specifically, the minister explained the process, but really, if you could go into the core components, what has changed, and the technicalities about this legislation that makes it so difficult for us to understand it.
Yes. Thank you very much. When the law is amended or we want to appeal, first you must have an issue which you want to address. And that issue cannot be addressed with the current law because of the current situation. Then first you have to look, should we amend the law to suit the current situation, or it means to interpret the law so that the public or the user can understand. If you found that the current law is not applicable to the current situation, then you come up with a suggestion of amending or repeal the law. You look what has been happening previously and what's the current situation. From there, then you start do some negotiation, do some research, and then you engage a lot of people like stakeholders. Yes. Because the act is under the Ministry of Health and Social Services, but there are a lot of stakeholders who can be affected by the amending of the law. So you do some research and engage. When you compile all this research, first you have to approach the Attorney General to look into the proposed bill, whether it's in line with the Constitution. If it's in line with the Constitution, he will be given a go-ahead. From there, again, he's still coming back to collect more information.
So it's quite a long
It's
and
quite a long
lengthy process.
process.
Mr. Iwoyulu, you are one of the stakeholders Mr. Siseho has just referred to. To what extent have you been consulted in regards to this legislation?
Well, I must indicate that the repeal or the amendment of the existing law is long overdue. I'm particularly interested because the professionals that practicing in health facilities are the registrants of the councils, and therefore, as much as we register people, health practitioners, for them to go out there and serve the nation, we would want to have a necessary framework, legal framework in place,
Yes, in
to
which they must
enable them
operate.
to
Yeah.
facilitate the deliverance of services. Therefore, I'm quite excited. We're very excited about this new piece of legislation that's
You've been
coming up.
thoroughly consulted.
Yes, we were
Your
consulted.
inputs are here.
Yes.